Discover the incredible secrets of happiness, 7 heartwarming lessons for a life-changing journey. In the heart of a small Midwestern town, where every sunrise turned the cobblestone streets a delightful amber hue, the Clover Diner buzzed with life. Among the loud clings of dishes and the cheerful chatter, Sarah, a dedicated single mother in her late 30s, poured coffee with a smile that lit up the room. At the counter, Sam, 10, and his little sister Lily, 7, drew pictures on napkins, their laughter mixing with the rich aroma of breakfast sizzling on the grill. Sarah treasured these moments, even as she nervously glanced at the bills piling up at home. She loved her job. This diner was more than a workplace, it was the heart of their tight-knit community. The customers became family, rallying around her, offering support as she juggled between work and motherhood. Yet, doubt lingered at the edges of her mind. How long could she maintain this delicate balance? Teaching her kids the values of hard work and family unity was crucial, but the burden of financial struggles weighed heavily on her heart. But everything turned upside down when whispers filled the air. Corporate giants were eyeing the Clover Diner. A shiny new franchise promised well for the town if only the diner could be torn down. That threat sent a chill through Sarah. Suddenly, she wasn't just fighting to keep her job, she was clinging to the essence of her family's future. Amidst this turmoil, Sarah noticed changes in her children. Sam, a sensitive boy, began coming home with stories of ridicule from classmates. Whispers about their financial struggles cut deeper than any blade. Each taunt was a reminder of how cruel society could be. The innocence she worked so hard to protect felt fragile. Tears prickled her eyes, but she swallowed the hurt, filling it with determination instead. She couldn't let this corporate giant triumph. Sarah reached out to loyal customers, sharing heartfelt stories of memories made within these walls. "We are more than a diner," she declared. Word of her efforts spread like wildfire, igniting conversations about economic inequality and the importance of local businesses. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who is on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As the town hall meeting approached, Sarah felt her heart race. The air was thick with tension, and the seats filled with familiar faces, all witnessing her fight. Corporate representatives sat smugly, prepared to dismantle her plea with their polished words. But Sarah stood tall, the eyes of her children and neighbors upon her, reflecting unwavering hope. In an unexpected twist, her estranged father, a respected war veteran, was in the crowd. Their eyes met, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of understanding in his long-buried remorse. She chose this moment to not only stand against a corporate bully but to confront her family's past. Determination gripped her as she faced the corporate giants, standing strong in the belief that true worth is not measured in dollars but in the bonds of love, respect, and community. Would they emerge victorious? The weight of hope and fear filled the air, leaving the audience breathless, unsure of what was to come. The room pulsed with energy, each heartbeat echoing Sarah's resolve. Voices swirled around her as she stepped up to the podium. Her palms felt clammy, but she reminded herself of Sam and Lily's innocent faces. They deserved better than the fear that had been creeping into their lives. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "This diner is not just a business, it's a home. It's where we celebrate our victories, console our losses, and build connections that stretch far beyond anyone's understanding. It is woven into the fabric of our lives." The corporate reps exchanged glances, unimpressed, but Sarah pressed on. You see, when I worked here as a teenager, it was a sanctuary. A place where dreams were discussed over pancakes and coffee. And now, as a mother, it's still that sacred ground. She was gaining momentum, her words pulling the audience closer. I know times are tough. I feel it, every day, counting every penny. But tearing down our diner to make room for a soulless franchise isn't the solution. Together, we can rise. Her gaze flicked toward the crowd, finding her father's eyes again. They were softer now, filled with a mixture of shame and something resembling pride. As she continued to speak, she noticed heads nodding in agreement, neighbors who had come to love the Clover Diner as their second home. There was Mrs. Thompson, the school librarian, who had frequented the diner for decades, Mr. Jensen, the retired firefighter known for his big heart, and others, all united in their hospitality and kindness. I'm asking for your support, not just for me, but for our community, Sarah urged. We have the power to protect what makes us unique. We can show these corporations that we'll stand together. We'll fight to keep our memories alive, to keep our children from facing ridicule. We are more than our bank accounts. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and cheers erupted. Hope ignited like a flame, and for the first time, the corporate representatives looked uneasy. But just as Sarah's confidence soared, a voice pierced through the noise. This is naive. You're fighting a losing battle. Bigger is better, and you can't change that. It was a young executive with slick back hair, disdain etched on his face. Is it, though? Sarah countered, her pulse quickening again at the challenge. Wouldn't you agree that bigger doesn't mean better if it comes at the cost of our happiness? If it means losing our community identity? Money can't buy the love buzzing in this room. The seconds felt like hours as silence enveloped the meeting. Sarah's heart raced, but she didn't back down. There was something powerful about standing up for what truly mattered. She could feel a shift, a breeze of solidarity among her neighbors. But amid the tension, she sensed that a storm was still brewing. Her father stood, moving past the row of chairs. The room fell silent as he took a step toward the podium, a look of determination on his face. I've made mistakes, and I'm not proud of them, he began, voice steady. But I've learned that it's never too late to fight for what matters most. Gasps echoed in the hall. Would his unexpected support galvanize the community even further, or would it reveal deeper wounds? Only time would tell as the next few moments hung hopelessly. The air crackled with anticipation as murmurs filled the room. Sarah's breath caught in her throat while she watched her father, a man she had often viewed through a lens of disappointment, stand there, vulnerable yet resolute. She could sense the weight of his words hanging in the balance, and every heartbeat reminded her of how far they had both strayed. Dad, she thought, feeling a mix of dread and hope, please don't let this be the moment you let us down again. His voice, though steady, carried the tremors of a man wrestling with his past. He continued, I've let fear dictate my decisions for too long when I should have been standing up for what truly matters. His eyes moved over the crowd, drawing them in. This diner is more than just a building, it's a gathering place for laughter, tears, and friendships. We've built something great here, and I won't let it slip away anymore. A stirring rippled through the crowd, and Sarah saw the familiar faces, neighbors, friends, strangers drawing strength from her father's unexpected bravery. It was a moment of connection that seemed to unite them all, a community revived in the warmth of shared memories. Together, we can show those corporate giants how much we value our history. We can fight back. His words ignited a fire, and cheers erupted throughout the room. Sarah felt her heart lift, spurred by the audacity of their newfound solidarity. Let me tell you, he continued, planting a hand on the podium for support. What is built on love and trust can never be replaced by a towering facade. As he spoke, Sarah caught a glimpse of Mrs. Thompson nodding vigorously, Mr. Jensen offering a smile, and even the slightest nod from the corporate reps, a hint that their arrogance was beginning to crack. The tides were shifting, and for the first time, Sarah could taste the possibility of victory. But just as hope started to soar, dread snaked its way back in. What if they failed? What if their voices weren't strong enough? Those questions threatened to drown out the cheers around her. "Sarah," her father called, beckoning her to join him at the podium. The act surprised her, igniting a rush of anxiety. They hadn't stood side by side like this in years. But as she stepped up, she glanced at his face, and she saw something she hadn't seen before: belief. A flicker of love, a promise of reconciliation, and a shared vision. "I want my daughter to grow up in this community, in this diner. I want her children to experience the warmth of connection, not just the cold feel of a corporate machine." Every word he spoke resonated deep within her. Memories of late-night meals, laughter shared over plates of fries, and the smell of pancakes on Sunday mornings flooded her mind. The thought of losing all that felt like a physical ache in her chest. "Let us pull together and let our voices be heard," Sarah shouted, her own emotions surging to the surface. The crowd erupted into a wave of applause. "Yes!" echoed throughout the hall, and Sarah could feel the weight of the moment, ready to tip the scales in favor of hope. But, just as the atmosphere began to settle into a warm glow of optimism, the door swung open, interrupting everything. A hush fell over the room as figures in sharp suits strode in, their confidence palpable and their eyes glinting with a mix of intent and challenge. Sarah's heart dropped. Had they come to intimidate them? To squash the flames of hope before they could grow? "Ladies and gentlemen," the tall, imposing figure at the front began, "I believe we need to discuss the terms of our offer again." Her breath hitched. What was their next move, and could her father's courage truly stand against this looming force? The stakes had just gotten infinitely higher. An uneasy silence blanketed the room as the corporate representatives settled in, their faces a portrait of calculated authority. The tension was palpable. Sarah could almost see the air growing heavier with worry, felt it mixing with the lingering doubt that had clawed its way back into her heart. She looked at her father, and for the first time, uncertainty flickered across his features. "Let us just hear them out," he murmured, leaning closer to her. But even his voice trembled slightly, and Sarah could feel the ripple of anxiety washing over the crowd. The cheers from moments ago faded into muted whispers, the jubilant energy replaced by the ominous presence of the man in suits, the lead representative, a tall man with slick-back hair and an unyielding gaze, cleared his throat before proceeding. "We appreciate your passion for this diner. However," he continued, "progress often demands sacrifices. Our offer stands at 10 times the market value. We believe it represents a fair exchange." The crowd bristled. Half-formed arguments buzzed throughout. "Do they think we can just sell our history?" Someone scoffed from the back. "That's easy for them to say, sitting in their plush offices." Another voice chimed in, cutting the tension with outrage. Sarah felt heat rise in her cheeks, but as she glanced at her father, she noticed a spark ignite in his eyes. "We aren't here for money," he called out, rising to face the corporate man with newfound determination. "What you're missing is the heart of this community, the laughter and memories tied to this place. You can't put a price on that." His words drew murmurs of agreement from the audience. Sarah felt the tension in her stomach begin to ease as they rallied behind her father. The glimmer of hope ignited once more. But the man in the suit didn't waver. "Heart is admirable, but it doesn't pay the bills. We assure you, the future of this diner is bleak unless you consider our offer." Despite his stoic facade, Sarah could see cracks in his calm. The longer her father held his ground, the more flustered the corporate rep seemed. "Let us talk future then," her father retorted, voice steady. "This diner grows from strong roots. It's not just a building. It's years of love, lives intertwined. When you tear down this diner, you tear apart our community." The weight of his words resonated. Faces in the crowd brightened, and whispers morphed into louder affirmations. The corporate men shifted, their complacent confidence waning as the crowd rallied around her father, their unity growing stronger. Then, Sarah caught the eye of Mrs. Thompson, who flashed her an encouraging smile. Mr. Jensen looked ready to leap out of his seat in solidarity. The community's loyalty blossomed, weaving tighter threads of connection as they rallied, but just as the din grew louder, Sarah noticed the lead corporate man stepping forward again, a hint of a smirk on his lips. "You seem to misunderstand. We won't be making adjustments based on sentiment alone. This isn't a negotiation, it's an ultimatum." The gravity of his words sank in. Fear pierced her heart like a sharp, icy arrow. "Is this the end?" she thought, worry gripping her thoughts. But in the same breath, she felt her father's hand on her shoulder, grounding her. "Not if we don't let it be," he replied softly. Sarah sensed adrenaline coursing through her veins. She took a deep breath. They had faced down worse than this before, hadn't they? It was time for them all to stand together, not just for the diner but for the very essence of their lives stitched within its walls. The murmurs calmed into a chorus of defiance. "Let us hear what you have to say," Sarah found herself declaring, stepping forward alongside her father. "But know this," she added with fire in her eyes, "we're not just going to roll over. We have stories to tell, and we will be heard." A collective roar welcomed her words, sweeping through the crowd. Sarah's heart raced as she caught a glimpse of the corporate men's composure beginning to falter under the weight of their united will. But was it enough? What were their next moves, and could this community withstand the storm brewing on the horizon? As the stillness hung in the air, she could feel the future trembling just out of reach, ready to either shatter or come alive. What choice would they make? The silence grew thick around them, everyone holding their breath, waiting for the next move. Sarah felt the pressure on her chest mount. The corporate man's smirk persisted, a tangible sign of his confidence. He looked at them like they were a quaint little detour in his plans. "What more could you possibly say?" he challenged. "Your cries for nostalgia won't stop progress." His words hung, heavy in the air, and Sarah's heart sank. But her father wouldn't back down. "You underestimate us," he replied, voice firm. His eyes darted around the room, meeting the faces of their friends and neighbors. "This diner is a part of every one of us. Losing it would be like losing a limb. We're not just standing for a building, we're standing for our families, our future." The crowd shifted in their seats, a wave of energy flowing through them again. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. Hope hung in the air, tinged with the palpable fear of losing something so precious. "Let me ask you this," her father continued, heat rising in his words. "What will happen to this town when the heart is gone? There'll be no laughter, no storytelling, no gathering place to share our lives. Just a hollow shell of what once was." As he spoke, Sarah watched as faces in the crowd lit up with a fierce determination. Mrs. Thompson stood taller, her hands clenched into fists, fiery resolve glowing in her eyes. Mr. Jensen shook his head, muttering under his breath like he was ready to fight. The energy in the room shifted once more, amplifying with hope. "Think about how many celebrations have happened here," Sarah chimed in, her voice rising. "Graduations, birthdays, and just ordinary days turned special. How can you put a price on that? Don't just see walls and furniture, see us. Her voice quivered but the passion burned bright. The murmurs grew into something palpable, quickening breaths and hearts in unison. The corporate man glanced at his colleagues, then back at them, confusion flickering in his eyes. But, what do you want? Compensation. A stake in whatever modern entity replaces this place? No. Someone shouted from the back, startling everyone. It was old Mr. Foster, his voice hoarse with age but rich with conviction. We want our diner. Not the money. Our memories. Our life. Another cheer erupted, and even Sarah felt tears of defiance welling up in her eyes. It was as if their emotions forged a bridge stronger than steel. The corporate team huddled together, whispering furiously. Sarah sensed their confidence crumbling. Perhaps they hadn't anticipated such unity or that the essence of a community could ignite such passion. Are you willing to negotiate? The lead corporate man finally asked, straightening his posture as if searching for a way out of this impasse. We're willing to fight for what is right, her father replied, voice steadied by a courage forged in years of love for their diner. We will not let this go without a battle. Sarah held her breath, the anticipation building once more like the first notes of a symphony before the crescendo. The moment was fragile, yet something within her whispered that they might just have a chance. But what would it take to win this fight? Could they turn the tide completely, or would this battle be one they could only hope would lead them to the next stage? As the corporate men stood hushed in a circle, leader of the band of adversaries, Sarah could feel the challenge rising like a wave ready to break against the shore. Would their stories be enough to salvage their home? The room pulsated with energy, a mixture of anxiety and hope swirling like a summer storm. Sarah could see the faces of her neighbors lighting up, courage bubbling to the surface. This was their moment, but the way forward was uncertain. She cast a glance around the room, meeting eyes filled with resolve. The men and women who'd grown up in this diner, who'd spilled laughter and tears over coffee cups. The corporate man shifted his weight, still stubbornly clutching the edge of the table as if readying himself for a yanked tablecloth reveal. You really think a few stories will change anything? Progress waits for nobody. Her father, not backing down, leaned forward. Progress could do better by remembering its roots. Every skyscraper and shiny new street has a history behind it. You're part of shaping ours, even if you don't see it. Sarah felt the warmth of love and tradition swell inside her. And our diner is part of that history. It's where we came together. It's where we became who we are. Her voice rose with determination, feeling as if it carried the whole weight of the town on its back. The murmurs grew stronger, voices intertwining. They can't take that from us. Someone shouted. Yes. Fight for our place. Came another voice, igniting a rhythm of agreement through the room. With the crowd's energy buzzing, Sarah felt her heart pounding in her ears. This is about more than a building, she shouted, her spirit lifting. It's about community. She caught her breath. It's about shared meals and moments that made us family. It's about knowing that whatever happens in life, you have a place to come back to our diner. The anger bubbling in the corporate man's demeanor shifted slightly. He could feel the tide turning. You really believe you can sway me with feelings? He challenged, though the steel in his voice wavered. Feelings are all we have. Mr. Foster called out again, voice echoing with defiance. He leaned forward, trembling but fierce. Go ahead. Try to build without a heart. See how long it lasts. A wave of agreement rolled over the crowd, shaking the corporate men with every cheer. The collective pride and passion were maintaining a pulse, strong and rhythmic, just like the heartbeat of a true community. But then the corporate man shifted, a sly grin creeping back into position. Let us say we revisit this whole conversation. Perhaps a window of collaboration? I think no. Matthew, a local mechanic, shouted from the back, cutting him off. You don't get to wear us down with your tricks. This isn't a negotiation to be twisted. You want our diner? You have to fight for it. The air grew electric with that bold proclamation. People shifted in their seats, an unease mingling with a wave of readiness. The corporate man's confidence wavered further. It was not just the diner that faced the threat of closure anymore. Their unity was a fortress. Sarah dared to hope. But as the standoff unfolded, she felt a stirring in her chest. What if it wasn't enough? What if mere words couldn't shield them from this corporate giant? Her thoughts raced ahead, mapping out paths of possibility and devastation. What's your next move? She found herself whispering under her breath, staring directly at the corporate man as one smart face now etched with uncertainty. As he opened his mouth to respond, the din of the crowd muted all at once, leaving a silence that pressed against her ears, a pregnant pause, ripe with possibility. What would they reveal next in this battle? What sacrifices would they make? Her heart raced, each beat a question of resilience, of what it truly meant to protect one's home. They had rallied, but what came next could reshape everything. Would they hold tight against the storm brewing on the horizon? The corporate man cleared his throat, the tension in the room thick enough to slice. Let us not be hasty here, he began, but his voice lacked conviction. I'm not completely heartless. I understand the community's sentimental value. Perhaps a reconsideration of our initial proposal is warranted. The crowd stirred, anticipation rippling like a wave. It was as if someone had sparked a firework in their hearts. But Sarah could sense the insincerity behind his words. She glanced at her father, who had suddenly grown still, his expression deep in contemplation. Sentimental? He echoed. This isn't just a sentimental issue. It goes deeper than that. His brow furrowed, as if he was digging for the right words. It's about respect. Respect for lives lived here, for stories shared over late-night coffee. You can't just sweep that away with a corporate deal. You want our diner? You have to understand us. The corporate man frowned, clearly irritated but caught off guard. He was used to bulldozing others with charm and product promises, not facing off with fervent and united citizens. A few people from the back began to clap, and soon, the entire room erupted in a chorus of applause that echoed off the stained walls. Respect. Came the chant. Respect. Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. This was it, this was the heartbeat of the community. We're not numbers. We have stories that matter. Her voice soared above the din. Our diner isn't just where we eat, it's where we heal, where we share our biggest dreams and our deepest sorrows. Exactly. Someone else shouted, a woman named Claire, who often made the best pies in town. How many times have we celebrated birthdays and anniversaries here? Does that mean nothing to you? The corporate man shifted nervously in his chair. His power was slipping. You really think I'm unaware of the history? He retorted, but even in his defiance, the cracks in his armor were becoming obvious. There was the hint of desperation in his eyes, as if he was wrestling with the realization that he was losing leverage. History shapes us, not just in a building's walls, but in our hearts, Sarah pressed on, feeling a swell of courage blaze in her heart. This diner is a piece of every family here. If you take it away, you take away more than bricks and mortar. The crowd hushed again, contemplative. A few nodded, lost in memory, while others looked toward the corporate man, perhaps seeing his smug mask gradually slip off. Come on, man, Matthew shouted. You can't buy this spirit. So, what is it going to be? Are you going to fight us or stand with us? Sarah held her breath, the silence feeling like a long, winding road. The man hesitated, eyes darting as he weighed his options. She could feel the pulse of the room quicken, her heart beating to the rhythm of uncertainty. Finally, he nodded curtly, a hint of defeat etched in his brows. I'll reach out to my superiors, he said, almost defensive. Maybe we can come to some terms. The crowd erupted again, cheers mingling with nervous laughter, but Sarah could still feel the weight of what lay ahead. They were only at the starting line of a much larger race. Thank you for reconsidering, she called after him, her voice steady but the doubt lurking still. The corporate man turned to leave, a hint of annoyance still lingering in his eyes, but as he stepped outside, Sarah found a renewed sense of hope combined with uncertainty. They had managed to stand their ground, but the game wasn't over yet. As the crowd began to disperse, Sarah felt a pang deep within her. What if a temporary win wasn't sustainable? She looked around, catching sight of all the familiar faces, each etched with concern, joy, and a hint of resilience. Together, we'll fight, she said softly, looking into her father's eyes. But even as she spoke those words, doubt nipped at her heels. They may have won today's battle, but would they be ready for the war to come? As the night closed in, like a dark blanket threatening to stifle their hard-won courage, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the real challenge was just beginning. Could they really defend what mattered most against corporate greed, or would they soon find themselves on the losing end of an uphill battle? The following morning, a soft light filtered through the kitchen window as Sarah bustled around the diner preparing for the day. The familiar sounds of coffee brewing and the sizzle of bacon hitting the griddle soothed her frayed nerves. She could feel a sense of determination bubbling inside, but the previous night's events still hovered like a shadow. Hey, kiddo, her father said, stepping into the kitchen, wiping his hands on a well-worn apron. His worry lines seemed more pronounced today. You okay? Yeah, Dad. Just thinking, she replied, trying to keep her voice light. Her pulse quickened as memories of the corporate man's hesitant acknowledgement replayed in her mind. I really think we can turn this around. Of course we can, he said, trying to catch her eye, but his gaze lingered on the diner's walls, as if searching for the strength that lay embedded deep within them. But we've got to prepare ourselves. They won't give up easily. Nods of agreement filled the diner as the regulars filtered in. Each familiar face was a reminder of their shared history. Sarah greeted Mrs. Henderson, who always came in for her morning black coffee, and the old man at the corner booth discussing the latest town gossip. Morning, Sarah. Ready for the weekend hustle? Mr. Thompson asked, raising his mug in salute. She smiled. Always. Just thinking of ways we can rally together. The chatter in the diner flickered to a hush as Sarah climbed onto a chair to address everyone seated. Friends. Last night was just the beginning. We faced that corporate man, and we need to keep this momentum going. The crowd's enthusiasm surged, heads nodding in unison. What is the plan? Claire asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. I think we should organize a community event. Something big at the diner, where we can celebrate our history and show how much this place means to us, Sarah suggested, excitement coursing through her. A buzz of motivation filled the space, sparking ideas among the patrons. A barbecue? Someone shouted. We could have music and stories. Another added. Let us bring everyone together, Matthew suggested, his hands animated. It won't just be for us, we can invite the people who don't always come in. Show them the spirit of this place. As the ideas flowed, Sarah felt a rush of gratitude wash over her. They weren't just a group of people, they were a family. Each voice contributed to the melody of their resolve, but beneath the fervor was a flicker of anxiety. She could already envision the corporate men watching their every move, looking for weaknesses. Would their passion be enough? The diner brimmed with the sounds of laughter, clinking dishes, and the aroma of freshly cooked food, but as they shared plans, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of inevitable conflict looming ahead. "Let us do it," she said finally, her voice steady. "Let us show them our spirit. Let us show them that the diner is more than just a building, it's the heart of our community." The room erupted in cheers, but Sarah's smile dimmed slightly. The stakes were higher now, and she had to prepare for the confrontation that would surely come next. As the day faded into the evening, the diner was alive with energy, but the undercurrent of doubt clung to her like a wet blanket. With every step they took toward gathering the community, she could almost hear the corporate men planning their counterattack. And somewhere deep down, she questioned whether they were truly ready for what lay ahead. Could they rally enough support to stand against the looming threat? Would their shared spirit be enough to fend off the power of corporate ambition? As the night deepened, Sarah stared out the window at the familiar glow of the diner sign. Hopes and fears battled within her heart. Would this community breakfast be the new beginning they needed, or the calm before a storm? The next day dawned bright but tinged with unease. Sarah woke early, the weight of the impending community event already pressing down on her. She had gathered her people, their passion ignited, but still, she could feel the storm brewing in the distance. "Sarah," her father called, breaking her reverie as she sipped her coffee on the porch. He stepped outside, hands tucked into his pockets, eyes scanning the horizon. "Are you ready?" "Not really, but we can't back down now," she replied, trying to sound confident. His brow furrowed, revealing the lines of worry etched into years of hardship. He had fought for this diner, this home, but she could see the flicker of doubt in his gaze. It gnawed at her too. Was it enough to just have heart? By mid-morning, the diner bustled as people dropped by to lend a hand. Claire, sporting a bright red apron, flitted around like a hummingbird, organizing ingredients for the barbecue. Matthew stood by her side, sketching out plans for the tables as if arranging a huge feast was all they needed to save the place. "Do you think we're ready for this?" Sarah asked, catching Claire's eye. "What if no one comes?" Claire paused, her hands stealing for a moment. "Then we show up for each other. This diner is built on more than just customers, it's about community." That made Sarah smile. She knew Claire was right, but the corporate men were relentless. A flicker of doubt echoed in her mind. Would it ever be enough? As the sun dipped lower, the buzz of excitement mixed with the sweet scent of grilled burgers. The diner's outside tables were adorned with colorful tablecloths, and laughter filled the air as families gathered. It was beautiful to see so many people come together. But as Sarah looked around, she caught sight of a familiar figure, Mr. Bennett, the corporate man, leaning casually against a flashy car, surveying the scene with cold eyes. Her heart dropped. He wasn't here for the barbecue. He was here to watch them stumble. She approached her father, already feeling butterflies of worry fluttering in her stomach. What if he tries to ruin this? "Stay strong, kiddo. Don't let him get to you," he said, squeezing her shoulder. The warmth of his touch grounded her, instilling a flicker of courage she desperately needed. As they began to serve dinner, Sarah spotted familiar faces beaming back at her. The diner transformed into a tapestry of laughter and shared stories, each moment stitching the fabric of their community closer together. Yet, every time she stole a glance outside, Mr. Bennett's presence weighed heavier. "Time for some music," Matthew called, strumming his guitar and drawing everyone's attention as he began singing a lively tune. Suddenly, the diner felt electric, vibrating with joy. But just as the atmosphere thickened with laughter, Sarah saw a shadow moving in her direction. Mr. Bennet strutted toward the entrance, his presence silencing the crowd. Sarah's heart raced. "Good evening, folks," he boomed, a sly smile creeping onto his face. "I see you've thrown quite the party. But how long will it last?" His eyes pierced through the jovial spirit like an arrow. Sarah's stomach tightened. The moment of truth was here. Would they stand their ground, or would the fear of corporate power stamp out the warmth they had ignited? "What do you want, Mr. Bennet?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "Oh, just to remind you," he said, his voice dripping with full concern, "that you are treading on dangerous ground." The air hung heavy with tension as she prepared herself for the confrontation. Could their togetherness withstand the scrutiny? Would they fight back against his menacing whispers, or would doubt unravel everything they'd worked for? The clarion call of the diner beckoned every heart to join. But would they answer? As the tension crackled like static in the air, Sarah took a shaky breath, bolstered by the love and laughter swirling around her. "This diner means everything to us," she shouted, breaking the silence. "It's more than food, it's about friendships, community, and love." Mr. Bennet, unfazed, smirked. "Sentiment 1T pay the bills, young lady. You can hold your little barbecue, but all it does is delay the inevitable." Determination surged within her. "You think we're just going to roll over? We want to let you take our home." The crowd behind her erupted with cheers, voices mingling into a powerful chorus of defiance. "Remember, this isn't about just one business, it's about our lives," Claire shouted, her voice strong and unwavering. The crowd responded, their enthusiasm igniting every corner of the diner. "Look around you, Mr. Bennet," Matthew added, his guitar resting against his shoulder. "These people are family. You don't get to waltz in and tear that apart because you think you can make a quick buck. This diner is alive." The music reverberated softly in the background, a gentle reminder of their shared spirit. But as Sarah focused on Mr. Bennet, she could see he was beginning to lose his cool. The confidence in his posture sagged just a bit under the weight of their unity. She sensed an opportunity. "Let us make this simple," Sarah said, stepping forward. "Instead of taking from us, why don't we partner? Collaborate on ways we can make the diner thrive. We can adapt, innovate, but not lose what matters most to us." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Sarah's heart raced with the heat of inspiration. Could they truly get through to him? Mr. Bennet hesitated, brow furrowing as he entertained the idea. "You really think a collaboration is feasible?" "Absolutely," Sarah replied fiercely. "We have ideas, a history, and a connection that you can't buy. Together, we can build something that respects the community's roots while embracing progress. You see this diner as a transaction, but it's a treasure. Will you treat it as such?" With every word, Sarah felt the power of their collective spirit strengthening. It pulsated through the air, palpable and real. She watched as Mr. Bennet's expression shifted, uncertainty swirling in his eyes. Before he could respond, her father chimed in. "What we want is simple, Mr. Bennet. Respect. Acknowledgement of what we built here. If you can see the value in our stories, our connections, we can go anywhere." The crowd erupted again, and Sarah felt their energy. It was a living force, lifting her, carrying her forward, filling every heart with a sense of unity. Mr. Bennet straightened, looking suddenly less like an overlord and more like a man facing a force he hadn't anticipated. The tide of emotion swelled around them, shoving him back as they cheered for their families, their friends, their past. He shifted nervously, glancing at the crowd, then back at Sarah. "Let me think about it," he said reluctantly and stepped back, the moment trailing out into the spirited chatter of the diner. As the crowd loudened in jubilation, Sarah's heart soared. She had felt a pulse of change, the yardstick of determination moving against a backdrop of adversity. Her father pulled her into an embrace, tears glistening in both their eyes. "You did it, kiddo," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You stood firm, just like we always should." With their voices mingling into a powerful tapestry, they forged a new path. People danced and shared stories, laughter filled the air like confetti. But Sarah knew this wasn't just a win in the diner. It was a beginning. Together, they earned the right to face challenges ahead. Fear lingered in the shadows, but the warmth of their newfound unity fortified them. They would keep working, keep fighting, not just for the diner but for everything they held dear. As night fell, Sarah looked out into the starry sky, knowing they had tapped into something far greater than just community spirit. They had found resilience, unity, and a purpose to carry on, and as the Clover Diner nestled against the backdrop of a black velvet sky, she understood one profound truth: happiness blooms best when shared. Now, I need you all to take action. If you felt that burst of hope, you need to subscribe now to this channel so you never miss another inspiring story. This is the moment to show your support. If you enjoyed this chapter, leave a like now to help spread the love and fuel our community. I want to hear from you. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this incredible journey, and listen up, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who inspire you every day. Don't wait not even one more second to spread this story and support the channel. Only true fans understand the power of unity, love, and community. Let us show that power together.